and welcome to the channel. Today we're talking not just about one of the greatest champions in the history of sport, but also about what could have been and never was. A deep, honest, and maybe even uncomfortable reflection on Valentino Rossi. If you appreciate content that goes beyond the surface, that explores the meaning of sport, passion, and human choices, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and hit the bell so you won't miss what's coming next. Here, we talk about sports, but also about values, decisions, and conscience. Let's begin. Valentino is Valentino. Few athletes in the world have achieved what he has, bringing a sport long confined to a niche of die-hard fans into the spotlight of popular culture, making it desirable, understandable, and emotionally engaging even for those who didn't know its rules or its stars. Only a handful of athletes in history, literally you can count them on one hand, have managed to turn themselves into a universal language. Every discipline has its devotees, its faithful, those who follow it with the devotion of a religion, regardless of who populates it. But every now and then in sports history, figures emerge who break the boundaries, who push their names beyond the tracks, beyond the stadiums, past the ring. Champions capable of stirring the souls of even those who've only ever caught the distant echo of sport. Men and women who become collective epiphanies, open doors to wonder. Muhammad Ali, Alberto Tomba, Michael Jordan, and yes, Valentino too. These are the names that create something that goes beyond competition, a cultural domino effect, a kind of fever that infects the masses, families, children, the cynical and disillusioned. These names don't just win, they inspire. But there's another level, another plane, that only a few dare or choose to reach. It's the level of social commitment, of responsibility, of using one's voice for something greater than oneself. And in this arena, Valentino's legend shows cracks. Not technical, not sporting, human. In 2017, the Nobel Prize in Economics was awarded to Richard Thaler, father of the nudge theory, the so-called gentle pushes. A simple revolutionary idea. People aren't always rational, but they can be steered towards virtuous behavior through small, positive stimuli. Real-world examples are everywhere, drawing a fly in a urinal to improve aim, offering rewards for recycling, even reducing teen pregnancies by 55% by giving girls $1 a day for every day they weren't pregnant. It's not charity, it's conscious social activation. Now imagine what Valentino Rossi's push effect could have triggered. An afternoon each quarter in a children's hospital. A clear message against toxic fandom. An invitation to solidarity during fan gatherings. Nothing flashy, just presence, just willingness, just example. And instead, silence. Not that he was obligated, no one is required to become a symbol, but when fate hands you charisma, microphones, and millions of eyes upon you, refusing the chance to leave even the smallest mark on the world is a missed opportunity. Not a crime, but a wound for those who dream of a world where sport makes people better. And yet someone did it. Vanni Oddera, a well-known face in freestyle motocross, chose to use his passion to bring joy to hospitals. Taking children for rides in motorcycle therapy, blending engines and humanity. He's not a saint, not a hero. Just someone who decided to give, to show up. And his choice created a ripple effect. Other riders followed, creating events, missions, volunteer organizations, no barriers being one of them. Because motorcycling, and those who live it, carry within them a natural predisposition toward brotherhood. Anyone who travels on two wheels knows solidarity, the offered shoulder, the extended hand. And so the question arises, if Vanni lit a spark, what could Valentino have ignited? With all the spotlights he had, with the cult that surrounded him, just one gesture, one statement, one authentic appearance would have been enough, and instead, nothing. And here we reach the most bitter heart of the reflection. Because Valentino didn't just inspire passion. He also, whether willingly or not, allowed a culture of divisive, aggressive, toxic fandom to grow around him. We saw it during the years of rivalry with Biaggi, then Gibernau, then Lorenzo, and above all with Marc Márquez. But if we truly want to understand when everything changed, when MotoGP began to get tainted by booze, bias, and football-style fanaticism, we need to go back to 2015, to the most toxic, venomous season MotoGP has ever experienced. A year that should have been legendary, but instead became an endless circus of accusations, suspicions, and fans turned into ultras. It all began there in a tense, hard-fought championship where two giants, Valentino Rossi and Jorge Lorenzo, battled for glory. What lit the fuse was the crossfire with Marc Márquez, which turned into a feud, an obsession, a personal vendetta, Sepang Valencia. Everyone remembers, but few remember clearly. Because if you look at it with clarity, removing the fog of blind fandom and overheated emotions, the truth is simple and clear. The one who deserved it the most won. Jorge Lorenzo won. The numbers don't lie, they don't love, they don't hate, they just tell the story. Lorenzo won 7 races, Rossi only 4. Lorenzo got 5 pole positions, Rossi only 1. Lorenzo led 274 laps, Rossi fewer than 100. This is not a moral judgment, it's the cold, relentless logic of sport. Lorenzo was faster, more consistent, more decisive. He built his championship race by race, curve by curve. The rest, Sepang, the quarrels, the accusations, the media mud, was drama, but it didn't change the essence. The Valencia GP, the final race, became a symbol of division. Some riders were seen as stepping aside, others were accused of sabotage. But even in that chaos, the truth stayed on the track. Jorge Lorenzo started in front, rode hard, won, and he won the championship. The real problem is what came after. From that moment on, motorcycling lost its elegance. From a sport built on respect and pats on the back, it became an arena of booze and venom. That's when it all started. The crude behavior at circuits, the insults on social media, the blind partisanship that can no longer recognize merit or applaud a rival. And we're still paying the price today. We see it every time Marc Márquez enters the track and gets booed for no reason. Just for his name, for an old story, for a narrative that turned toxic. But Marc didn't steal anything. He raced like everyone else. He won a lot, made mistakes, gave us a show, and yet he's treated like an enemy when he should be seen as a treasure. And that's when the regret returns. Because maybe, just maybe, if someone had spoken clearly during those dark days, if the most beloved champion had simply said, "Anyone who boos a rider is not my fan," then maybe today's atmosphere would be different. Instead, that silence made more noise than 1,000 words, and motorcycling lost a part of its soul. Today, in 2025, the wound is still open. Marquez gets booed at circuits, insulted, attacked with the same stadium-like violence that Rossi could have condemned, diffused, healed, but he never did. In 20 years of racing, not once did he publicly distance himself from those who humiliated other riders, who turned the grandstands into ultra-style battlegrounds. This rider would have longed for one simple, clear, uncompromising phrase. Anyone who boos a man who risks his life for the sport he loves is not worthy of being my fan. That would have been enough. It would have been enough to change the narrative, but instead the spiral kept spinning downward. In 2024, when Marquez became competitive again, the jeering roars returned. Useless, stupid, inhuman, and once again no one, not a single legend of the sport, stood up and said, "Enough. Valentino will remain a giant. No one can take away his place in the Olympus of the greats." But it is fair, human, to mourn what could have been. Because Rossism could have changed motorcycling even beyond the track. Instead, it allowed fandom to become a wall, hatred to become a slogan, and the example to remain incomplete. For many Italians, he represents a kind of shame, and that's a real tragedy. Because Valentino Rossi truly won so much and gave us unforgettable emotions. But in the end, he didn't bring people together. He divided them. A sporting giant. No one can take that away from him. But when you have that kind of power, that reach and that charisma, choosing not to use it to heal, to unite, to elevate, is for many his greatest missed opportunity. And maybe that's the real regret. He inspired millions, but he never truly united them. And so, yes, in the name of Nelson Mandela, who knew just how powerful sport can be as a civil force, let us say it plainly. This was a great missed opportunity because, as Mandela once said, sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand. Sport can create hope where once there was only despair. It is more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers. It laughs in the face of all kinds of discrimination. Valentino inspired, but he did not unite, and maybe deep down that's the real regret, because a champion inspires through actions, but a symbol unites through voice. And perhaps that's the fine line between being a legend and becoming a true example.